The last transmission, the stars above the HFY colony flickered as if they were holding their breath. The sky was quiet, too quiet, and then the attack began. Explosions ripped through the sky as enemy ships broke the silence. The slaver fleet descended fast, with no warning. The peaceful people of HFY 4 ran, cried, begged, but no one came. No help arrived from the Galactic Council. No rescue force from nearby systems. Just silence, cold and cruel. Inside a small underground bunker, an old communication officer named Alec pressed trembling fingers to his control panel. He had tried all channels, all frequencies. The screen blinked red, no connection, no response. But he didn't stop. He spoke into the recorder, voice low but clear. "This is Alec, comms officer of HFY 4. We are under attack. They are taking the children, burning the crops. If anyone hears this, please help us." Then he paused, then added quietly, "Even if it's them, even if it's the Deathworlders, we need someone." He pressed send. The signal launched into space, through static, through noise, through a galaxy that no longer cared. Most believed Earth had vanished long ago. The humans were removed from the Galactic Council, their home called too violent, too wild, Deathworlders. They were called, a species shaped by pain and danger, a species not trusted, not welcomed. But Alec remembered. He had heard stories as a child of human warships appearing in the middle of battles, of humans saving colonies no one else would touch, of armor that moved like shadows, and voices that spoke only after the enemy was gone. The slavers didn't care about stories. They landed hard, took what they wanted, and burned the rest. Villages vanished in smoke. The screams never reached the stars. Days passed. Alec's signal floated through the void. Most satellites ignored it. Most ships passed it. But then it was caught. A silent machine deep in a cold asteroid field turned toward the signal. Its red eye blinked awake. Old code ran through its system. "Help request detected," it read. It processed for 3 seconds. Then one word appeared, glowing, on the black screen. Forward, far away, beyond map space, a ship stirred. Black metal, shaped like a dagger, floated in the dark. No lights, no beacon, just a hull marked with one word, Earth. Inside, something awoke. Not a crew, not yet, but a system of old promises. A voice spoke softly inside the ship. Distress signal received location. HFY 4, time to arrival. 6 hours. The ship moved without a sound. The void around it swallowed its presence. No one saw it leave. No one knew it was coming. Back on HFY 4, Alec sat beside the radio. His face pale, his eyes tired. He had stopped hoping. His planet was dying, and no one cared. Then a child ran into the bunker, breathless. "Something's in the sky," she said, eyes wide. "It's black, like a shadow." Alec stood, slowly. They went outside and looked up. At first, nothing. Then there, cutting through the clouds like a knife, a shape moved fast and low. No engines, no fire, just silence. One of the slaver ships tried to turn. Too late. A beam of light sliced it in half. Another exploded from the inside out. The black ship didn't stop. It didn't speak. It only acted. In minutes, the slavers were retreating or dying on the ground. Shadowy figures in black armor moved through the smoke. Effortless, quiet. One lifted a wounded child gently, handed her to Alec. No words, only a nod. Alec's hands trembled as he held her. He looked at the figure. "You came," he whispered. The soldier turned, walking back into the fire. From the smoke, more came, and above them, more ships, silent and sharp, filled the sky. HFY 4 had been forgotten, but the Deathworlders had not. They had heard the call, and from the shadows, they had returned. The ghost ships move, there were. No warnings, no messages, no promises. Just silence and then fire. Across 5 different star systems, Enemy fleets began to vanish. Not in grand battles, not in long fights. They simply disappeared. A pirate base near the Zarant Belt stopped sending updates. A convoy of slaver ships never arrived at their next checkpoint. A supply station orbiting Durok 7 reported unusual shadows before going dark. At first, no one cared. The Galactic Council called them communication errors. But deep in the outer zones, the survivors whispered a name that hadn't been spoken in years. Deathworlders. Captain Nira, a hardened bounty hunter, stared at the remains of a warship drifting through Sector 9. Its hull was sliced clean. Through no blast marks, no evidence of lasers or plasma fire, just a perfect cut, like a blade made of light had gone through steel. He pulled back from the view screen and shook his head. This wasn't pirates, he muttered. This was something else. His crew was quiet. One of them, a young technician, leaned closer and said, "I heard stories like this back when I was a kid. Ships vanishing, slavers wiped out. Some said it was Earth's old fleet, the ones. They never decommissioned. The ghost ships." Captain Nira frowned. "Earth's gone, kid. They were exiled, wiped from the maps." But he didn't sound convinced. Meanwhile, in the hidden edges of the galaxy, something stirred. A fleet moved through the dark, like predators beneath still water. No lights, no signals, only long black ships, shaped like knives and marked with a faded symbol. A single Earth star with clawed wings. Inside one of these ships, the crew worked. In total silence, they were human, but they didn't look like the humans in Council records. These men and women were different. Eyes sharp, armor heavy, movements perfect. They were bred for this, trained in exile, sharpened in silence. The last defenders of a world forgotten. A message flickered on the main screen. A replay of the distress signal from Jexery 4. The voice of Alec, pleading for help. The room was still. Then a female commander spoke, her voice calm and cold. Targets confirmed. Slaver routes identified. Proceed with Operation Ashfall. The ships separated, diving into hyperspace like wolves let loose. Not to conquer, but to send a message. In the following days, slaver lords began to panic. Their bases found abandoned, their lieutenants missing, their ships intercepted and shredded without warning. No demands, no questions, no mercy. All they found were symbols carved into metal and bone. A single mark burned into hulls or walls. A hand rising from fire, clutching a broken chain. The council tried to control the news. They ordered silence, but fear travels faster than light. In refugee camps in backwater colonies, people began to whisper, "They're back. They're real." The Deathworlders have returned on a moon named Keltara. A young girl named Tiri held her little brother close. Their parents had been taken weeks ago. Now, she saw black shapes moving through the sky. She thought it was the slavers again. But the noise was different. Low, deep, steady, not cruel. Not chaotic calm and final. From the shadows of the trees, black-armored soldiers appeared. They walked without fear. They saw the children and stopped. One kneeled in front of her and gently reached out. Tiri backed away, afraid. The soldier removed his helmet. A human face, scarred but kind, looked back at her. "We're not here to hurt you," he said softly. "You're safe now." That night, the slaver base on Keltara went silent. No gunfire, no screams, only quiet, followed by the sound of fire burning. Controlled, deliberate, like someone erasing something foul from the world. The survivors were gathered, fed, treated. They saw the symbol on the ships and armor, the symbol of Earth, the symbol of Deathworlders. They had come from the shadows, not to rule, but to protect, and they weren't stopping. Eyes in the smoke, the world was burning again. But this time, she didn't cry. Sari crouched under the broken table, her small hands wrapped around her baby brother's mouth to keep him quiet. Ash drifted down like dead snow. The only light came from the orange flames outside. And the sound gods, the sound was screaming, laughing, boots stomping, machines tearing. The slavers had come again, and like every time before, no one had stopped them. Her village had begged, offered everything. Still they were punished. Still they were dragged through the dirt like animals. Sari's mother had told her to run, and she did. But now she was trapped in this ruined kitchen. Smoke filled her lungs. Her brother squirmed, and the door was breaking. Then silence, sudden, terrifying silence. The kind that means something is watching. Through the broken doorframe, Sari saw a shape tall, not slaver, not like anything she had seen before. It moved like wind. Fast and without sound, it passed by, and the screams began again. But now, they were not from her people. They were slaver screams. One tried to run past the window. His body slammed into the wall mid-air, bent backwards. Another fell through the flames. Cut before he could scream, Sari pulled her brother close. The fear in her chest mixed with something new hope. She didn't understand it yet, but she felt it. Boots landed softly just outside the room. Not stomping, not cruel, measured, steady. The door creaked as it opened, and smoke poured in, but through. Its two eyes, glowing faint blue, stared at her. Not evil, not dead, alive, alert, careful. The figure stepped forward, covered in black armor with red markings like scars. No symbol Sari had seen before, but the eyes told her not to run. The figure crouched low, not speaking. Slowly it held out its hand. Sari hesitated. Her brother whimpered. The figure took off its helmet, and she saw a woman's face, tired, strong, covered in ash and blood, but human, real. She spoke softly, like a whisper between storms. "You're safe now." Sari didn't understand why she believed her, but she did. She gave her brother to the soldier and crawled out with them. The house collapsed behind them a moment later. Outside, the village was covered in smoke, but through it figures moved like ghosts. Each one fast, each one silent. They took down slavers without a sound. No one escaped. No one was spared. One slaver tried to fly away in a hoverpod. The engine flared, then exploded mid-air. Another dropped his weapon and begged. The Deathworlder simply turned and walked past him. The man screamed anyway and vanished into the fire. Sari watched as the black ships landed on the field outside the village. They opened silently, letting out more soldiers, more supplies, no banners, no speeches, just action. People slowly came out from hiding, wounded, afraid, confused. But the soldiers were already tending to them. Medical pods were opened, food distributed, water handed out. No demands, no rules, just help. One elder walked to the lead Deathworlder, his voice shaking. Why are you doing this?" The woman looked at him and answered simply, "Because no one else did." A child from another hut cried. Out, the soldier who had saved Sari ran to her without hesitation, held her, calmed her, and handed her a small glowing cube-warmed safe. Sari stared at the cube in her hand too. It glowed faintly with the Earth emblem she didn't recognize. But something inside her did. Later that night, as the fires died down, the humans packed their things. One by one, the ships lifted. Sari ran to the field. She shouted, "Wait!" The soldier turned one last time. Sari raised the glowing cube. "Will you come back?" The soldier smiled, not loud, just enough. "We never really left," she said, then disappeared into the smoke as the ship vanished into the night sky. Sari felt something new in her chest. Not fear, not grief. It was the first spark of strength she had ever known. From the shadows, the Deathworlders had come, and now the galaxy would remember their name. What the Council feared, they knew this day would come. They just hoped they'd be dead before it did. In the tall golden towers of the Galactic Council, the air was thin and the truth even thinner. Inside chamber. 9. Where secrets were buried deeper than gravity wells. Alarms remained off, but every official knew Earth had returned, and they were not the same. High Chancellor Vurix of the Zelari Dominion watched the footage in silence, black-armored. Figures tearing through slaver fleets. Children carried out of fire, symbols of Earth glowing on every chest plate. And no one, not even the Council's elite guards, had dared stop them. Beside him, Counselor Druric from the Ithari species shook his head slowly. "I warned you, I warned all of you," he said, his voice trembling. "They were never gone." "Only waiting." Vorix turned sharply. "We exiled them. We stripped their codes. We erased them from the star charts." Druric's eyes gleamed. "You erased them from paper, not from the stars." A hush fell over the chamber. Someone replayed a file one so old it flickered with data corruption. Project Silencer. Deathworld Protocol. Do not engage without Extinction Class forces. The file was stamped. Earth, the truth was Earth, had never agreed to the exile. They had vanished willingly, took their fleets, their AI cores, their dangerous minds, and simply disappeared. They didn't beg to return. They didn't send ambassadors. They just watched and waited. And now they acted. In the last 72 hours, 14 slaver fleets had been wiped out. No survivors, no evidence, just clean cuts and scorched bones. The Council couldn't stop it, because they didn't know where it was coming from. Vorix stood in front of the Council and spoke. "We are facing a threat unlike any we have known. They are not invading, not conquering. They are hunting." One of the junior members, a soft-skinned Selvani diplomat, asked. "But why? Why now?" Druric turned toward the chamber. "Because we left the weak behind. Because they cried for help, and we did nothing." Silence spread like a sickness. Meanwhile, deep in the forgotten data vaults, a quiet AI awoke. Its name was Echo 7, a long-band construct originally developed by humans. It had been left behind after Earth's removal, sealed beneath 20 levels of encrypted firewalls. Now it played a sound file. A child crying, a slaver's laugh, a whisper. "Deathworlders, where are you?" Echo 7 sent the file to the far edges of space, to coordinates only a ghost fleet would recognize. Back in the outer zones, a Deathworlder commander named Cade received the signal. He looked at the data, nodded once. He turned to his crewmen and women bred for survival. "Silence and justice. It's begun," he said. "They're waking up. In the next cycle." 3 more Council stations went dark. Not destroyed, emptied. Security logs showed nothing but black shadows moving fast and clean. A message was carved into the walls in every station, simple and terrifying. "If you will not protect them, we will." Back at Council HQ, panic began to spread, systems disconnected from each other. News was buried, records erased, but fear cannot be hidden. The Council had feared Earth not because of its weapons, not because of its soldiers, but because of what it represented. A force that didn't wait for votes, didn't follow protocol, didn't leave the weak behind. And now that force had returned, not with flags, but with fire, not to conquer, but to remind the galaxy that silence has a cost. And Earth was done being silent. One life worth saving, his breath was shallow. His blood was thick and dark, soaking the sand beneath him. He had been crawling for hours, or maybe days. He didn't know anymore. Commander Tevel of the Sarn Dominion had fought many battles, but this one was different. This one had broken him, and no one came to save him. He lay alone beneath a broken ship wing on the ruins of Outpost Ravex. The slavers had finished what their fire started. The rest of his unit was gone. He was the last. And he had already said goodbye to the sky. But then he heard a sound, not thunder, not a ship, something heavier, something walking. His cracked visor blinked weakly as he forced one eye open. He expected to see the slavers coming back to finish the job. He wanted it to end. But what stepped into? View wasn't a slaver. It wasn't even alien. It was human. The armor was dark gray, edges worn by fire and dust. The figure moved slowly, scanning the area like a ghost who had seen too much. When he saw Tevel, he stopped, paused, then walked over. Tevel coughed, blood escaping his mouth. He managed 2 words, "Finish it." The Deathworlder said nothing. Instead, he knelt down. Beside him, gently pulled out a medical injector and pressed it to Tevel's side. "Why?" Tevel gasped. "I'm just one life." "We're enemies," the human spoke, his voice low and steady. "You're not the enemy. You're just someone left behind, and we don't do that." He lifted Tevel like he weighed nothing, carried him across the ash field to a drop shuttle. Inside were 2 children, an old Sarn priest and a Viren medic with only one arm. All wounded, all rescued. Tevel stared as the human placed him down beside them. "You saved them too?" he asked. The Deathworlder gave a small nod. "We save who we can. One life or one world. Doesn't matter." As the shuttle lifted into orbit, Tevel looked down at the fire below. He thought of the council cold and silent, and he thought of this one human who didn't even say his name. When they landed at a refugee ship hours later, the Sarn priest called the medic team over. "This one," he said, pointing to Tevel. "He's seen the ghosts. He's been touched by Earth." Tevel tried to argue. "I'm no believer." But the others didn't care. They had seen what Earth did not just in fire, but in mercy. Later, when Tevel recovered, he stood before the Galactic Council. They had called him in for answers. They wanted to know why Earth was interfering, why the Deathworlders kept saving lives no one cared about. Tevel looked around the room, the ones who had abandoned him, the ones who turned away when his people cried for help, and he said, "I don't know why they do it. I only know this. The Deathworlders found me dying, and they carried me home. They could have left me, but they didn't, because to them, every life is worth saving." Silence filled the chamber. The council had no reply, and across the galaxy, that story spread like wildfire. Not a story of weapons, but of hands that lifted, arms that carried, and a voice that said, "You matter." In places where the council had turned away, the Deathworlders had arrived. One by one, they changed how the galaxy saw Earth, not as destroyers, but as guardians. Silent, strong, and full of something no system could measure. Human heart. The fire below the sky cracked open, but it wasn't thunder this time. It was war. The people of Tharan 3 had lived under slaver control for years. Their fields burned, their children stolen, their hope buried. The Galactic Council knew. They always knew. But they did nothing until today. Above the gray clouds, fire bloomed. In silence, slaver cruisers turned their weapons toward the disturbance, laughing at what they thought was another scavenger fleet. But when they saw the first ship emerge, they stopped laughing. It was shaped like a blade. Black metal, no markings, no warning lights. Only one thing glowed faintly on the hull high. Single Earth star, then more came, 20, 50, 100. The sky filled with shadows that moved in perfect silence. And then they opened fire, not with chaos, but with precision. Every slaver gunship was marked, every command tower targeted, no civilians harmed, no buildings touched. Only the machines of cruelty turned to ash. On the ground, the slavers panicked. They scrambled to take hostages, to use as shields, but the Deathworlders were already there. They came from the dust, wearing dark armor and quiet footsteps. Their weapons hissed softly as they fired energy blades, shock rounds, sonic pulses, non-lethal when possible, but never merciful when it wasn't. Commander Rita, a Deathworlder strike leader, moved through the smoke like she'd lived in it. Her whole life, her team took down an entire slaver camp in 11 minutes. No screams, no delays, just justice. A child trapped in a burning building screamed. Rita didn't blink. She charged straight through the flame, carried the girl out, her own armor glowing red-hot. When the child asked who she was, Rita only said, "No one important. Just someone who heard you, elsewhere in the city." An old man held a broken plasma rifle. He had been part of the resistance long ago, now too tired to fight, too slow to run. He saw the black figures moving past him like shadows, and for the first time in years, he smiled. They came back. He whispered, "From the ashes, they came back." By midday, the battle was over. The slavers were gone, not just defeated, but erased. The Deathworlders left their mark. Burned into the ruined fortress wall, a symbol of earth, surrounded by flames, and beneath it, 4 simple words: "We came for them." As the people gathered, some wept openly, not from grief, but from the shock of being seen, being saved, being remembered. A young woman asked a Deathworlder why they fought. He looked at her, blood on his armor, smoke in his lungs, and said, "Because the fire below was never yours to carry alone. They didn't stay for celebrations. They didn't wait for thanks. They packed their dead, treated the wounded, and prepared to vanish again, back into the void, back into legend." But this time, the story spread faster than ever, captured on feeds, on broken radios, even sketched by hand, images of humans rising from fire, standing between the weak and the wicked. The galaxy had called them monsters. Now, they called them guardians. And from the highest towers of the Council to the darkest corners of abandoned space, everyone knew one truth: if the fire came again, so would the Deathworlders. Deathworlders never left. The stars looked the same, but everything beneath them had changed. In the past, when people cried for help, they heard nothing. Only silence, only cold. But now they whispered a name, and the shadows whispered back. They called them ghosts. They called them myths. But the truth was simpler. Deathworlders never left. In the ruined council hall, High Chancellor Vorix stood alone. The chamber, once full of pride and power, now echoed with silence. Not because of an attack, but because Shane spoke louder than war. Footage from Theron 3 played across every star network. A black-flagged human fleet descending like thunder without sound. Children pulled from burning homes, villagers crying in the arms of warriors they once feared. And the council had done nothing again. Vorix stared at the blinking message on his console. No sender ID, no reply channel, just one line of text. The forgotten are no longer alone. Across the stars, something new had begun. Not war, not rebellion, but belief. Belief that someone was out there who wouldn't look away, wouldn't ask permission to act, wouldn't wait for votes. Someone who would show up when the rest of the galaxy turned its back. A child on a mining colony or a hand-drawn symbol. Of Earth on his chest, a merchant painted the Deathworlder sigil onto her cargo ship for protection. A refugee fleet renamed their main vessel Silent Dawn after the ship that saved them. And in dark corners of the galaxy, the Deathworlders watched. Not as kings, not as gods, but as guardians. They built no empire. They claimed no throne. But every cry for help was heard. And every fire that rose was met with shadow. A shadow that walked on 2 legs and carried the weight of a planet once exiled. One day, on a dusty moon no one cared to name, a small girl planted a flag. It was simple, handmade, colored by charcoal. And hope, the design was old an Earth star wrapped in flame. When asked why she did it, she smiled and said, "So they know we're not afraid anymore. Because someone is watching." And they were. A single human ship drifted high above the moon. No engines, no lights, just quiet inside. The pilot leaned back in his seat. A message blinked on his screen. Signal detected Orlan system refugees in danger. He pressed one button. The ship vanished into hyperspace. No sound, no trail, only a promise left behind. In the end, they didn't come back for revenge. They didn't come back for glory. They came back for the ones no one else would save. And somewhere, far beyond the reach of charts or laws, the galaxy whispered one final truth. Earth was never gone. They were just waiting for the right moment to rise from the shadows again.